Hi guys, we're back here with you on a new episode of No Joke, and with us today is Keith as well, doing a segment. And Markus, how are you guys doing?
Keith?
Doing good.
Okay. All I gotta say is it was Keith's fault that we are so late. Saying this, welcome to the team, Keith. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here. I knew you were going to do that.
Well, let's have a look at the chat. I see there's Barbara with us. Melissa is there. Density. Hey guys, how you doing? I hope you like it. Well, what a week. When I was yesterday preparing the show, I sent a WhatsApp message to Amos, which he didn't listen, which he didn't check. And I was, the content was, yesterday, I was so at a low, I was so desperate, I had very hard problems to get anything prepared for today because I was so fucked up about the political landscape with what's going on. We are talking about Ron DeSantis, also with progressive Democrats and donation stuff. And I was so fed up. But then I thought to myself, okay, I'm here in Germany. Those guys are confronted directly with this bullshit in the US. And I said, okay, I got to pull myself together and get something on. And I hope you will like it. So, saying this, how was your week, Keith? I would like to start with you.
Well, it was good. I personally, I got a little more serious things done that I've been putting off, but won't get into that. And for me, since Biden's got in, news has kind of slowed down why people wait to see what happens. And he had that speech a few weeks ago, and I've got a website which is very environmentally themed, end of the world, doom, and all that. That's what my website's about. And so, what I tend to, or am going to tend to probably pursue, are things that kind of relate to that. And so, this week, oh, well, should have something ready for the show, I think, a few days ago. And Amos was kind enough to remind me, which was good. It got me on track. And I wanted to see what Biden was doing about the environment and global warming and stuff. So I made a little project of trying to find out what he was up to. And that's what I'll be talking about when it's my turn to present my findings. So that's what I've been up to. And I, watered my garden, and hopefully some radishes have come up. The weather is getting really nice, and we've gone into summer, and of course it's springtime, but the way things are going, summer and winter are going to be the only seasons we have.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on here.
All right, Keith, thank you very much for the insight. And Amos, same question to you. What was your thingy of the week and how was your week in general?
My week was kind of sad. I lost a very dear friend, a pet, a dog that I was very attached to, and I unfortunately wasn't able to see throughout the whole pandemic. And by the time I got to her, it was just too late. She was kind of in a half coma or something, not registering a lot, not responding a lot. But I'm dealing with that, by gardening, reading politics, doing the show, and making my own kvass, which is basically bread juice. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
no.
It's a fermented drink that you make out of bread, and it's remarkably refreshing and yummy.
Never heard this, but I'm sorry for the loss of your pet. It was a dog you were talking about a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I know this, and well, anyway,
How old was she?
yeah,
She was pretty old, but it doesn't really prepare you otherwise it doesn't prepare you either way. So
yeah, absolutely not.
No, of course not.
All right. So let's have a look at what we have for you guys today.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, not the joke. We will be talking about Ron Insantis, how I'm calling him right now, because there was so much idiocy around him this week. And as Keith said, he will give us a little bit more insight on the push for nuclear energy subsidies. Um, Amos will talk about something really surprising this week. He will talk about Joe Biden and keeping his word. And I will cover what the Germans stand on the coronavirus discussion with the waivers is. Right. So I would say we start with the first topic. You know, this is Ron DeSantis, and I found in the net, I found this nice one. He's the 46th governor of Florida, and maybe has ambitions to become the 47th president. I don't know. He's completely, he has always been, but he's still completely on the Trump track. And what came out from him this week was absolutely crazy. Of it was not only one thing he came up with this week. The first thing was that he presented himself as a kind of activist for the suppressed coronas. I don't know. At least he lifted all the bans. You know, everything is going normal in Florida. And let's see what you got to say.
So now today I'm going to let the legislatures come up. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to sign the bill. It's effective July 1st. I'll also sign an executive order pursuant to that bill, invalidating all remaining local emergency COVID orders effective on July 1st. But then to bridge the gap between then and now, I'm going to suspend under my executive power the local emergency orders as it relates to COVID. I think that's the evidence-based thing to do. I think the fact... I think folks that are saying that they need to be policing people at this point, if you're saying that, you really are saying you don't believe in the vaccines. You don't believe in the data. You don't believe in the science. We've embraced the vaccines. We've embraced the science on it. The data, I've said, has been good from the beginning in terms of clinical trials. It's even better in real life. And so it's available. We want everyone to get it. And if you get it, just know that the reason you get it is because we want to be able to have people enjoy themselves and live freely in the state of Florida. So,
what I mean, first of all, sorry for the typo in the headline. You know, this sometimes happens when you're German and not a native speaker. Well, but Amos, are you happy that you're not living in Florida right now? And same question to Keith.
Yeah, of course.
It is absolutely crazy that he is that everyone should enjoy himself, and if you get it, then then he shrugs his shoulders. And I read an article last week where they discussed if it would come at least to a herd immunity, which is the final goal, to get the epidemic the pandemic under control. And they have deep doubts that we would achieve this goal, because if you see how many millions only received maximum the first vaccination, and or some are refusing in general to get vaccinated, but millions are only getting the first one and never showing up to get the second one, you won't get this disease under control. And if you think that the virus is still mutating, those scientists were deeply worried about what's going to happen, and they say it is quite likely that we got to get used to this for the unforeseeable future, that we have to deal with this because of these ignorance. And which is more troubling me is that this ignorance is coming from so-called leaders. And it is absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. It is absolutely crazy, and it is complete insantis. This is Uh, well, I only can shake my head. We see similar stuff here in Germany happening. There is also a movement, which is by far not the majority here, but there's also a little movement which is denying all this crap. We are seeing the same shit happening here in Germany as in France. We are seeing this everywhere, that people are refusing to accept. I'm not saying to believe in science, but to accept science as facts. And God, where will it lead us? And yeah, this was the first part of the crazy week of Ron DeSantis. Then he came up with the voter suppression, and he ordered a lot of crazy stuff to keep especially black or brown people and poor people away from the elections. And he is praising this with here's a tweet from him: Florida took actions this legislative session to increase transparency and strengthen the security of our elections. I'd like to thank the leaders on this issue. It is clearly intended to keep his cronies in office, and to keep himself there, and to keep all the power there. And it is absolutely bullshit. And the other tweet he's coming up with, that Floridians can rest assured that their vote count, and that Florida will continue to conduct elections that are efficient and transparent and secure. Of course they are secure. They are secure in favor of the GOP, because if you think what they are doing with the gerrymandering and all this stuff, it is clearly intended to keep a certain population out of the election process. And he doesn't, and he even doesn't hide it. I don't know how this can be possible. I'm doing this for a couple of years right now, but I'm from time to time.
It's a cornerstone of the Republican Party: restrict voting.
Yeah.
It's the cornerstone of the Republican Party. Texas, right now, they have passed or are in the process of passing something that will make it a felony to give someone a voter registration form if they have not requested that.
Correct.
Yes.
Like, what kind of brain, what kind of person does that?
Yes. It leaves you there, and you cannot get it. I heard the same crap is happening in Georgia. I see that Ohio is also threatened by those actions, and it is actions clearly directed against those who should have the power over the complete process, right? And it's an open war, and the question is, who is on the other side? Who is leading the war against the population, against the people who finally should have the say, right?
Well, it's happening in all across the U.S. in states, on the state level. What's going on the national level is that there's more and more a consensus within the Democratic Party to go for H.R. 1 or for the People Act, which is really fundamental restructuring and reforming of the voting system to disable these attempts and improve access to elections and so forth, and also create fundings for people based on not on corporate donations and such, but rather on small donations. The problem with that is that the argument of some regarding that issue is that that would favor potentially people like Trump who have a lot of small donations. But of course, we know that this would also be crucial for progressives. So it's clear though that if they are to move on HR1, the whole issue of filibuster rules, or moving on changing the rules for reconciliation to encompass more than just issues of budget, will have to be done in order to have any chance of passing something like that on the national level.
Yeah. Well, the next strange thing he came up with was his police funding action. You know, he was tweeting it, some want to defund the police. In Florida, we are funding them, and some by providing all of our heroes $1,000 bonuses. This represents more than 174,000 first responders across the state. Well, it's also an approach. I don't know about the police death rate in Florida, but I keep it in mind for the future, you know. And I think it you know, who would be attracted, you know, when you see that you get bonuses there, you know, you get all those guys who are fired from other departments for those reasons. Maybe they will find a new place in Florida with this, you know, with this absolute pro-police advertisement, you know. I don't know. And absolutely crazy, you know. He does the complete opposite to everything which someone rational thinking would oppose. You know, it is.
Well, I sure didn't like what he said in that segment you played with the COVID, because not enough people have been vaccinated to be anywhere near any kind of herd protection yet.
Yeah.
And so to say that they're following the science and letting, you know, making evidence-based decisions, a total lie. Now, I happen to be in a state where our governor actually is. Our governor is one of the few that are responsible about all this, and you know, that's Washington State, and he's not going to open things up until enough people have been vaccinated. Simple as that. You know, and until the cases fall low enough, we have to be taking precautions.
We have here in Germany, in a lot of parts here, in a lot of cities, we have a complete ban overnight between I think 10 o'clock in the evening until 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, if you don't have a permission that you need to be out for your job or anything else, you are not allowed to be on the streets anymore, you know, because we don't see anything else what we can do right now, because our politicians made so many mistakes in dealing with the pandemic. In parts they cannot be blamed because the situation is new, but in other parts in handling, it is absolutely crazy how they dealt with this, you know. And this is and now we are facing a complete lockdown overnight, and restrictions more and more, and we are so far away from herd immunity. And yeah, I don't know how we
That's got to be making people really angry.
Yes,
You know,
it makes we have two oppositions with it. We have the minority who is angry about that their human rights and their freedom rights are restricted, you know, and the other people, the majority, is only shaking their heads and they're thinking, "Oh my God, how can you be so stupid?" Right? And I think it's the same situation, you know, which is mirroring in the US, you know, and yeah. But as long as
I think you're right. But what happens is, you know, news, you know, sensation gets the headline.
Of course.
And so, you know, people, you know, ranting and about rights being violated, whether they are or not, are going to be on the news. So
yes, You gotta be loud enough to be heard. It is how did Trump get into office? With all the coverage from the media, he would not maybe be in office. You're right. But anyway, then it came to the thing when he got a signing into the bill, and there he invited only Fox News to this event, and I found an article in the Miami Herald, and it says bad government First Amendment experts question DeSantis' exclusive bill signing. The article says that it is a part of it is to be described as a discrimination against other media outlets, and also that those people who are not necessarily watching Fox News would not get this information firsthand. And there will definitely be another discussion in Florida about this, in how far it was rightfully done or not. I think we don't have two opinions that this thingy was a personal kind of revenge. DeSantis doesn't like the reporting about himself from the other media outlets, and so he behaved like a little kid, and said, "You are not allowed to come to my birthday party, and I only invite those guys who like me." And it says more about himself than in how far it was a real discrimination, because it was all over the media after he did this. And but it is only topping the crazy week of DeSantis, and it shows also the how they see themselves, that they might be untouchable somehow, that they can do whatever they want, and it is absolutely ridiculous. Here in Germany, I don't think that a politician with such an approach to political daily politics would have a future. But saying this does not say that this would not be possible in the future here in Germany as well. So far, I'm happy that we don't have those complete loose cannons around here.
But guys, it seems it's quite clear that he's modeling himself after Trump.
If you want some, we can send some over.
Yes. What did you say, Keith?
If you want some, we can send some over to you. No, we don't need it.
No, please, leave them where we have enough idiots here right now. But Amos, Amos, you are right. Maybe he's preparing his position, to become the next president.
Right. If Trump doesn't run, he's going to run for sure.
Yeah, and look, what's going on in the Republican Party. If you hear the for us the absurd story around Liz Cheney, which is for us not worth to discuss her political issues, etc. She is not conservative, not right enough anymore for a good part of the Republican Party, and you see where it goes. And my best prognosis would be that it backfires, because the GOP becomes too radical for the voters. Maybe not. This would be a friendly perspective to this.
I think it's kind of clear that it's as shocking as it is. The Republican Party has become the fascist party, no less, and that's very disturbing and very scary. They're protecting and harboring people like what's his name?
Matt Gaetz,
yes, and at the same time they're shunting people who are telling the truth and ready to like have at least a shred of decency in government. So their choice is clear. I'm just very, very concerned about where things are going.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Saying this, I think we got another, yeah. We got a cartoon for this. And yeah, it says, "Don't monkey this up, Florida." And there we have it. The still a Trump puppet, but this doesn't mean that as soon as he sees an opportunity that he cuts his strings and yeah, presents himself as the follow-up candidate. We'll see. Coming now to energies, and I see that Keith put a lot of energy in his next segment, and take it, Keith.
Okay. Yes. So we've got a slide up here. Yes. What happened was, Biden had a speech a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks, whatever. I didn't listen to it. When presidents give speeches, I read them. I will read the transcript. I don't want to hear them. I want to see the words. Anyway, so what's he doing about the environment? Because that was a big thing, and jobs was another. And so I decided I would go down the rabbit hole of trying to find out what Biden was doing with the environment and global warming and all that good stuff. And with Trump gone, it was a little bit of work. And yes, I did put a little effort into it, because if Trump was still in office, all I would have had to do was look at what he did, and no matter what it would be wrong, because he didn't have any environmental concern at all, and we all knew that. Biden's different. You'll judge for yourself after I finish talking whether he's pretending or not. But I had to give him a fair shake. Look at paying attention to any problems. To kind of get us all oriented, I have a slide up here that shows the temperature of the Earth in the American century. And sadly, one thing about the environment is Americans use the Fahrenheit system. So people are always talking about 2 degrees of warming, 4 degrees of warming, 1 degree of warming, this, that, the other thing. And people in America don't really get it, because the rest of the world uses centigrade. That's what they're talking about. And so it's actually 1.8 degrees to, so looking at this graph, NOAA actually, so NOAA has taken records of the temperature in America over the last century. And if you look at this graph, you can see that there's a full 2 degrees Fahrenheit of change, which actually is over 1 degree centigrade. So, that's a factual thing that we can all agree on. If we don't agree that, you can argue about whether the science is real or not. Baloney, it's real. People really measured thermometers and wrote down things, and nobody's lying about that. I trust that graph. But what does it mean? And so that's the thing, And so I started looking for articles, and I had a lot of trouble finding them, because it seemed that people were talking about talk, but they weren't actually doing anything. So what I found was that Biden, the big news was that Biden had given the nuclear power industry, in his infrastructure bill, he wants to give them a lot of tax kickbacks, because they're being oppressed by the oil industry, which gets all these subsidies that, the oil industry gets subsidies, which makes it hard for the nuclear industry to compete with them. So Biden wants to give them subsidies to make the game fair. Now, first of all, I want to say this is not a presentation about the being for or against nuclear energy. All I want to do was try to find out where Biden was going with his whole plan, and just try to get a sense of where things were going. And so he wants to give the nuclear energy a lot of tax breaks, and because the oil industry tax benefit, subsidies. And I got to thinking, well, how is that good for us? If we give oil subsidies, and then who's paying the taxes then? Well, the only people paying the taxes are the citizens, because you're giving tax breaks to all the corporations, no matter how you look at it. And so that didn't seem right to me. And I pulled up that slide to show that the change in the temperature, because one of the articles I looked at was, how many people think there's an actual climate emergency in America? And it turns out to be 52%. And the number, that's a disappointing number to me, because I think we obviously know my bias, that I think there really is a problem. But, so I'm disappointed in 52%, but it turns out that the results are all partisan. If you're a Republican, you're like 70% of Republicans say there is no climate emergency, and 74% say the opposite. Now, I don't want to think about that too much, because it doesn't say very nice things about the human race here if our opinions aren't based on facts, and they're just, do we have free will or not? But I don't think we have time for philosophy right this moment. We'll continue on. And so where was I? Okay. So the same facts lead to different opinions. And that's, so getting back to Biden, what's his opinion and what's he trying to do? And so here's the thing, nuclear power is a hot button issue, no matter how we are. Some environmentalists are dead set against it. Some environmentalists are for it. It's a complicated thing. But basically, what I kind of figured out that Biden wants to do is he wants to make everybody happy. He wants to make, give the impression that he's saving the world. And I think he'd like to if he could. But his approach seems to be all corporate centered and passing the burden of it all onto the people. That's my opinion after reading about all this stuff. Now, getting back to the nuclear energy, what do we need nuclear energy for? Well, Biden's plan, obviously he wants it, is his plan is to put everybody in electric cars. And somehow that's going to save the world. Now, I happen to know that electric cars have to be plugged in, charged up, and that 50% of the electricity in the country, in America, is still generated by coal. And you can replace it by, natural gas and only put out half the CO2, but no matter what, you're putting out CO2. So, what you're going to do, so because if you put everybody in electric cars, how much power do you need? Well, it turns out, we have enough power right now to make our coffee, be on the internet, one person in 100 can buy a Tesla, because charging those things up, only one person in 100 does it. It's no big deal. But what happens if we actually go electric? And because in Washington State, actually here, I have a slide that'll be coming up that shows our governor, where our state has passed a law or something where they don't want any gasoline powered cars on the road past 2030. So I guess we're going to power our cars by magic unicorns in Washington State after 2030, because wow, where are you going to be able to charge up all these cars? Because I did a little calculation. I got a slide here. It might be coming out. Oh, yeah, slide just came up showing your governor. I got one here with a whole bunch of color on it with some math, because I stopped looking through the articles. I did some math. I looked at, if we put 100 million electric cars on the road, how much power do we need? And I got a picture of a little one, and I probably have an accurate expression of how much power they use per mile, which is about 200 watt hours. And if you work it out, we need, I think I came up with 43% increase. We need 43% times the generator. No, not 43% times, 43% more generating capacity than we currently have. So, people are talking about a green revolution. They're talking about, alternative energies. Well, the fact is, you're not going to keep this world going the way it is without without providing the same amount of energy that fossil fuel provides now. And so what you're going to do? I mean, I'm not here with an answer right now. I'm just here with bunch of irritating questions. And what else did I have? Oh yeah, I want to get back to this subsidy here. And Biden, he's going to make everybody happy. He's going to take away some oil subsidies. And one thing, as being kind of in the progressive camp, I've been part of it actually. Where you talk about oil subsidies and get all upset because these oil companies are getting subsidies, but does anybody really look into and find out how much they're getting? What are the details? Well, I found one article that was pretty interesting and kind of tipped me off about something. It says, I'll read it here. I got it in front of me. One of the top fossil fuel breaks is called an intangible drilling cost, which allows producers to deduct most costs from a drilling new wells. La da 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 da. Okay, top fuel breaks. Okay, now if that's a top fuel break, it goes on to say that it'll save, by taking that away from the oil companies, it'll generate 13 billion in 10 years. Wow, that's 1.3 billion a year. Now, personally, I would like to have $1.3 billion. I think I would not worry about money, but how much is 1.3 billion really when you look at the big picture? And I got to thinking, and potato chips came to my mind. So I did a little search on the internet, because you learn everything there. And I found out that Americans eat about 1.85 billion pounds of potato chips, 6.6 pounds a year. And at $4 for a 13-ounce bag, that works out to 9,100,000,000 some and change per year. In other words, 10 times more money is spent by Americans on potato chips than the oil subsidy that'll be taken away from the oil company. Now, I ask a question, is that going to save the world? I don't think so. You may disagree. So, so that gets to, I hope we have time for this because I realize I'm only half.
Go on,
done,
Keith. It is fantastic. Go on.
Okay. So, I'm learning about all this and I'm getting the impression that, well, Biden wants to make everybody happy. And his response to that graph that I showed everybody about, is the world getting warmer? Yes, it is. What should we do? We'll have corporate America save us. And, some of us have a perspective that corporations have kind of caused the problem, that there's this thing called capitalism that's out of control, that lets money make all our decisions, even when it shouldn't. And that, expecting tax breaks to the very corporations that, cause these problems, it may not be the way to save the world, And so, but what is? Are there any other ideas out there that could? And I do know of one, and it's called carbon dividends. Now, when I first learned about this, I had a knee-jerk American reaction of disgust. What? You're giving people something for free? Oh my God, you can't do that. People have to work for a living. This is wrong, But then, I got over that knee-jerk reaction. I looked at it and say, this is kind of nice. And anyway, what the idea is, James Hansen put this out some, I think it was a while back, and I read a report and everything, and it actually got introduced into Congress, and that ties it back into Biden. Now, what happened here? First of all, have I said what carbon dividends are? No, I have not. So I better do that. Carbon dividends are where you would put a tax at the source of to the oil company when they're pumping the oil, when it's being imported, at the source of origin, you put a tax on the oil. But it's not really a tax. I have to call it a tax right now until I explain it. It's really a dividend. Now, you take that money and you distribute it to every person in the country every legal resident, that's what James Hansen says, equally. It's a total, rich people don't get more, poor people don't get less. Everybody gets the same amount. Now, why do this? Why, you tax the oil, and well, because what the oil companies do, they don't really, they're not out anything. What they do is they pass the cost on to the consumer. Like, oh no, that's a horrible thing. Well, wait a minute though. See, if you give the consumer the very money you're taking away from them, then they haven't lost either. But they have the choice of how to spend this money. They have the choice to, you know, drive their car, and pay the $10 for gas, which really only costs them $5. It doesn't cost them any more than they're paying now because they already got $5 on their magic credit card that the government puts their contribution on. And so, it doesn't cost anybody anymore, but now we have choices. And so that we can actively change the world and make it a better place because we have something to do. So anyway, this was called HR 763, and it was introduced into Congress. And for one day, it had a lot of activity. And I slide here where I did some highlighting to remind myself of why I made this slide. Okay, it was introduced in 2019 by Theodore Deutsch in, I think he's Florida, I don't know. Anyway, and then a whole bunch of activity happened in the House of Representatives. And the very next day, it was sent to the Committee on Energy and Commerce, where it has remained ever since, and nothing will happen. It will not see the light of day. See, because corporations do not want this at all. I mean, if you're an oil company, you want to sell oil. You're not interested in global warming because you're going to make enough money so that you can move to under palm trees in Anchorage. Really bad. Your mind is not with the rest of us here who, might be trapped wherever we are and, might not like starving to death. So, so it's buried. And my point, tying it to Biden, is I don't think that any of this happened without him knowing about it. I mean, he's part of this Democratic apparatus, and it was introduced by a Democrat in the House of Representatives. And so, I don't think if you went to Joe Biden and asked him, have you ever heard of James Hansen and carbon dividends? Oh yeah, that's a great idea. You'd say, he might pretend to say, what are you talking about? I have no idea. I know nothing. Yeah. So anyway, but that's that. And so I'm going to get to the end of it where I found a cartoon. Oh, by the way, if you go to my website, James Hansen gave a talk at a museum, I think a museum of Royal Museum of Manitoba or something. And I pulled this video out of their archives and I did a little editing, didn't take anything away from it, just added a few slides of introductory thing where he explains what carbon dividends are. If you go to my website, which is chasingthisworld.com, and you find the James Hansen video about 15 minutes in, and it's on a slide up here somewhere, he'll explain what carbon dividends in. Ahead of that, he gives, a generic talk about, how bad CO2 is and how the world is warming up. And, I'm kind of into this stuff, but knowing the details of that, it kind of puts me to sleep. And so just jump ahead. If you already know that the world might be getting warmer, just jump ahead to 15 minutes and find out that there's this great idea out there that basically you haven't heard about it. And unless progressives talk about it, you'll continue not to hear about it because it is, something that people would like and something corporate America would not like. And we know who our politicians listen to. So kind of end of story from me, except that I did have, my last slide, which is nuclear power can start an argument, but unless you favor wealth and privilege, carbon dividends are the greatest thing since sliced bread, because what it does is gives us choice and it doesn't take anything away. So I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Keith.
This
was great. This was a great presentation. It was absolutely fantastic, and I think it gave us insights. I never thought about all this, and I was aware that if you want to put so many electric cars on the streets, that you would need a lot of batteries, and even the the handling of the batteries would pose a problem, Uh, Not to mention what you said, that it is all depending on coal mostly today. Uh, I also made up my mind, and I only came to the one conclusion, um, to keep it all going, without needing fossil fuels and without needing maybe nuclear power plants. We all would need to cut down our daily behavior, our consume behavior, etc. And of course, this is a thing capitalism would not like to see happen. And this is exactly what you said about the oil companies, etc. But I remember there's one thingy. I don't know how much dependent the cigarette companies are today on cigarettes, like Philip Morris. Didn't they rebuild their companies about different stuff? And why shouldn't, and they are doing this undercover mostly, why shouldn't the big companies on the energy field do the same, and not only as fig leaves, but with real strength? Because what happened when cigarettes got more and more in the critique. They saw themselves that they could not go on with this business model, right? So it is all a question of pressure.
Yeah,
It is
diversification. I remember that.
yes, it's a question of pressure. It's a question of money, of course, and of course of the capitalistic system, which I said it last week. The capitalistic system would not tolerate any real efforts in favor of saving this planet.
Well, the capitalistic system wants to maintain a fiction that life can go on as it has into the future forever.
Yes.
And to put out any statement that's contrary to that, it's just going to get shut down, and whoever says that is going to like lose their career or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact is, okay, getting back to Biden then. So what I say was he's trying to make everybody happy, saying the right things, pushing enough buttons to sort of go in the right direction, but will it be enough? And if I have a goal with anybody here, it's to leave them thinking about, will it be enough? Is this guy really going to be able to give us what we need or not? And if he doesn't, then we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing to make sure we get what we want?
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
expecting others to give to us just not going to happen.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you ended this with Joe Biden. Thank you very much, Keith. As I said, excellent segment, absolutely fantastic, and lots of insight, lots of information. Great job. And talking about Joe Biden, something surprising happened this week, Amos.
For that, I really, I really enjoyed this last segment. I think it was a tour de force. There's one more related cartoon here, and that's fossil fuel industry unable to exit to a better future.
Yeah.
So yes, so as you mentioned, this week there was some news that kind of surprised a lot of us. We kind of all prepared for like a disappointment with Biden. If you remember, there was an issue regarding the hashtag free the vaccine and hashtag TRIPS waiver, which is TRIPS is another naming for the waiver regarding the vaccine. And the idea is that the world poorer countries would be able to bypass patent laws in order to be able to get the recipes for the new technologies relating to the vaccines, the mRNA vaccines and so forth, in order to be able to ramp up production. And this goes back to Biden that was recorded. He was speaking with Adi Barkin, who asked him a very poignant question, and I'll play it here.
The World Health Organization is leading an unprecedented global effort to promote international cooperation in the search for COVID-19 treatments and vaccines. But Donald Trump has refused to join that effort, cutting America off from the rest of the world. If the US discovers a vaccine first, will you commit to sharing that technology with other countries? And will you ensure there are no patents to stand in the way of other countries and companies mass producing those life-saving vaccines?
Absolutely, positively. This is the only humane thing in the world to do. Were I president now, and I propose we do it now, set aside $25 billion to put together a plan now, this instant, how we will distribute that vaccine when it's made available, to guarantee it gets to every American and access is made available to the rest of the world. This guy's whole idea of America on its own is meant America alone. We're out there by ourselves. What's he doing? It lacks any human dignity, what we're doing. So the answer is yes, 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 yes. And it's not only a good thing to do, it's overwhelmingly in our interest to do it as well. Overwhelmingly.
So this basically was what he said at the time, which was sounded very good, but as it was coming closer to the situation, there has been a question whether he was whether he was going to deliver, because key people in the Democratic Party have kind of sided with Big Pharma and said how it wasn't a good idea. Fauci came out and said that he was kind of neutral. He was agnostic about whether they should do that or not. They should really focus on getting everything out as soon as possible, as opposed to working on a future thing that might take forever to come up with. And in some ways they have a point that this is going to take much longer than we actually have. We need to, at the same time, push as much as much vaccines to that area as possible. But that doesn't exclude us from sharing this technology, and sharing this technology is like important for the future. If there is a further complication with this pandemic, it's going to be crucial to have all of this in place to be able to act fast. So to hedge against it by saying that the U.S. needs to keep its patents is kind of ridiculous. Here's a cartoon with India asking for the patent for a vaccine, and the corporate pharma says it's our sacred cow. So that kind of reflects how they were considering all of this. So basically, it's very much of a concern. And what surprised us was that in spite of pressure from the Democratic Party, and there was pressure, pressure, for example, from Senator Chris Coons, senator from Delaware, who said that, here's a quote from him, all this is the wake up of he was talking about the January 6th insurgents, and he says all this is a wake-up call for us that we need to have another Sputnik-like moment for reinventing the American innovation and competitiveness. And then he was talking about how China was positioning itself to use this knowledge and R&D and so forth to corner the U.S. and the West out of global institutions such as the WTO or the WHO and so forth. And he was opposing that. So his conclusion was that we should protect the intellectual property of American companies, and he cited it as being part of our constitution, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it, because like it's a global pandemic. That's what pandemic means, endemic. So if we don't get handle of this situation, scientists said that within a year, we have 1 year to get rid of this virus, or else things are going to get much worse with variants that are going to be impossible to deal with the existing vaccines, and then we're back to square one. So to start playing these politics is kind of ridiculous. What to Biden's to his credit, he is there's a bunch of progressives that approached the administration under specifically Representative Schakowsky, who is another progressive that we haven't heard much about, but she's led a group of progressives to talk with the new U.S. trade czar, Catherine Tai, and they convinced the administration, if it wasn't convinced before, I believe it probably was convinced, that they should go with enabling this patent globally, and just a spotlight on Catherine Tai, because we haven't. This is the first time she's stepped out. She has declared the announcement of the administration's position on that, on the waiver for the vaccine patents, and we didn't know much about her, but she's a Yale and Harvard educated Asian American that she's been involved in the Ways and Means Commission for some years, and even under the Trump administration, and she's pressed the Trump administration to involve negotiations on trade regulations for labor, which were regarding Mexico, regarding the renegotiation of NAFTA. So basically using that as a leverage to create protection for workers in Mexico, as well as protection for workers in the U.S. that were kind of threatened by cheaper production in Mexico. So elevating the entire aspect of labor, and she's handled it so well that business, as well as Republicans and Democrats, have been 100% behind putting her in a position. This is the first we really hear of her. Here's a little clip just to give you a taste, where she's questioned by Senator Wyden, and just pay attention to her answer. It's a good answer.
With respect to the next major area, USMCA, the Trump administration proceeded while several outstanding issues were up in the air. To this day, Canada hasn't come into compliance on dairy requirements. Mexico lags on implementation of their labor laws. We wrote this law so that it would have real teeth. And I'm very pleased that we were able to get a brand new Brown-Wyden rapid response mechanism to address labor violations in Mexico and ensure that we would have the strongest labor standards ever in a U.S. trade agreement. Could you just kind of give us your top priorities going forward now? When you hit the ground, we're going to get you confirmed. I'm convinced of it. What are going to be your top priorities for using these new tools to enforce USMCA?
Senator Wyden, I think the top priority for USMCA is to use those tools. The renegotiation of the NAFTA, I believe that all of you have been through that effort. It was hard. That was hard work. And the agreement that we have now has, as Ranking Member Brady referenced, has an improved overall enforcement mechanism, improved from the original NAFTA. And as you've referenced, Chairman Wyden, has new mechanisms on labor enforcement in particular that are novel, not just to this agreement, but to U.S. trade agreements across the board. The key to using the USMCA and making it successful is to exercise the tools that were so hard fought in being incorporated into the agreement.
And I've read like the Center for American Progress has celebrated her instatement just as much as Haaland and some other progressives that were received positions. So this on the whole, I would say, is encouraging. I do think we should give the administration credit where it's due and criticize where it's not. So we will continue doing both, holding their feet to the fire and celebrating when they do the right thing. And this was a case where they did, in my opinion, the only right thing. What do you guys think?
Well, I think first of all, it was a little bit irritating at the beginning of the clip. I had the strange thingy. It reminded me of Monty Python's Life of Brian. The biggest joke. But anyway, her answer was absolutely cool, and it was absolutely right. And well, before we started the show in the green room, I said already that credit who deserves credit, and in this case, it was a surprise that Biden came up with this idea, and that that no one else in the Democratic Party, from which we know are sharing, are executing only the wishes of the big corporations. Obviously, nobody seems to be able to turn Biden around again on this topic, and. At the first clip, where he got asked if he would support this idea, he said absolutely 100%. Well, at this point, I think okay, it was a typical Biden. He is promised the same about the $15 minimum wage, etc. But maybe I can only assume. I told it to you guys in the green room before. Maybe it has a little bit to do with his personal history, that he saw his wife dying, his son dying. And maybe this is a kind of red line for him that he doesn't want to cross in this case. And as I said, credit where he deserves credit. I didn't expect this. Keith, what do you think?
Well, I'm stuck on I heard NAFTA. So my ears are ringing, because I'm in Seattle where, we had like the turtles on the street, and, years ago when NAFTA first started. And, at the time, to tell the truth, I really didn't know what was going on. I thought, the big brains were saving the world and I didn't have anything to worry about. And I was disappointed to find out that wasn't true. But getting back to the point, was surprising to hear somebody say labor, a government employee, said rights of labor or some shit. And so, I kind of got stuck on that. So I couldn't hear anything else either, So I'm kind of a little confused here, because it's getting back to, like you say, give credit where credit's due. And with Trump, it was so easy. He was just a big POS. And basically everything he did was wrong. And so with Biden, it's much harder, because I agree with you. He's gone through tragedy. He's had family members die. And so he is kind of inclined to, say, let the world have the vaccine without, it being intellectual property, which is kind of a bizarre thing in itself. I mean, That's a discussion.
Yeah.
It is our, can you own knowledge or not? Is it right or wrong? But anyway, so getting back to it, I'm just confused. I'm going to look up this woman and see what she has to say, because if she, but basically, recall that NAFTA was, a gift to the elite. And, you know, can the Biden administration, can anything that's going on in Washington put lipstick on a pig or not? Because a lot of this stuff is founded on such bad blood that I can't see how we can go ahead without throwing a lot of it just away. So,
Well,
that's my impression. I'm a little confused about what she's saying, and I'll look into it.
let
All
me
right.
let me
I
let me
will.
clarify a little bit. She didn't. She wasn't involved in the negotiation on NAFTA. She was involved in the negotiations during the Trump era of replacing NAFTA. As you remember, he replaced NAFTA with another agreement, and under that agreement, she was pushing for enforcement of labor, using it as a means to create labor protections, and that was her involvement there. She seems to be very capable. She's a lawyer, and I think it's worth taking kind of um, monitoring her, because
Yeah.
she's gonna be she's the new trade czar, or the trade representatives, as they call it, and she speaks fluent Mandarin. She's going to have a lot to do with how we position ourselves vis-a-vis China, how the political situation of China and what they're doing to the Uyghur societies, to the Uyghur societies, is going to affect our trade and so forth. And her nuanced but very practical position may be a stark contrast to how Trump has been just using a stick to poke at the hornet's nest, as opposed to try to make actual changes through policy.
Yeah. Well, interesting. As I said, I was very surprised about the step Joe Biden undertook. And the reaction was a little bit different here in Europe, especially here in Germany. Um, the title in the card was a little bit irritating because it says that Angela says no to the waivers. As a matter of fact, Angela Merkel is not officially active anymore in politics. She is now nearly invisible here in Germany. What domestic politics concern, this is already for quite a time. And now, as nearer as the end of her career is coming, she is more and more vanishing, and the discussion is led by complete different figures in the political circus in Berlin. And well, the approach is quite differently from what we heard about Biden and the Biden administration, because here in Germany and Europe, we are saying no, we don't want to give any freebies to anyone. It is more important for us that we secure the private sector research and the patents around this, and they say a clear no. And the argument is because the companies which are producing the vaccinations are already producing, and they are increasing the process and the quantities, etc., and everyone will get his vaccine, and everything will be done directly from the companies who own the patents. So no waivers. This is quite remarkable. last week I heard in the news, I read it in the news, that in parts of India it's raining ash. And this ash is not coming from a volcano or something else. It is coming from the burnt bodies, the dead people of the coronavirus, which is raging in outrageous amounts within the people there. It is absolutely horrifying what we learn from there. We know what the situation is, or we only know by news what the situation is in Brazil, where there is another mutation of the virus raging, and still the big companies declare they got everything under control, and they refuse to give away the patents to countries to put the production on for themselves. And there is also another thing in it that they say if they gave it away, it cannot be guaranteed that that everything in the production would be according to the guidelines of what they are doing, etc., which is, in my opinion, a quite arrogant point of view. You know, it means that you guys, which have not proceeded this stuff yet, are not capable to do this. And it is absolutely crazy. Nobody is talking about maybe Africa. You know, Africa has has the fortunate situation that the population is very young. But it also is hitting hard there. If you look at South Africa, the situation there, it doesn't mean that the day comes when a mutation switches over to other countries and then goes over the continent, etc. And all this is and all these risks are obviously worse for the industries and those politicians in Europe and Germany to say no. And there was an article in The Guardian where the argument is from Angela Merkel's government. The US suggestion for the lifting of patent production for COVID-19 vaccines has significant implications for vaccine production as a whole. The limiting factors in the production of vaccines are the production capacities and the high quality standards, not patents. The protection of intellectual property is a source of innovation and must remain so in the future. Well, this says it all. This says it. Capitalism beats reason again. And as I said before, scientists are not certain anymore that we would ever reach a herd immunity. And with such a behavior, it is nearly guaranteed that we won't get it. And I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed about this, and I hope it hits back at least in fall here in Germany for the conservatives who mostly are behind this. When hopefully a green chancellor takes over, and hopefully they're gone. And it's absolutely disappointing, you know. It is disappointing, you know, for us in Europe, where they are looking also with a little arrogance to America, to the capitalistic system in parts of the left society here. And there is now Joe Biden, you know, the leader of the most capitalistic country in the world, saying, no, we are doing this right now because this is needed. And then the EU and the German government says no. My God.
He's punking Germany from the left.
Yeah, it is absolutely crazy. And this is why I was absolutely surprised this week. And I said, wow. I said, really? Wow. I didn't expect this coming. Keith, what do you think? What do you think about the German take on this, or the European take?
What exactly is the German take? Is that for, against? You know, tell me in a minute. But I'll just start out with saying what I I think about all this, and I don't hear any of these companies saying that they need to recover money that they've spent developing vaccines. It really irritates me that so many of these things are actually developed on the public dime. The research comes out of universities that come out of taxpayer dollars, and basically, big pharma just takes the results, say they own it, and make a lot of money off of it. Now, intellectual property, the concept exists so that if you develop something, it protects you so that you're able to market it and recover your expenses developing whatever it is you've made. And that's for a period of time. And after that, whoever can make something better or cheaper really is the one that gets it after the period of time. And the point being that the law exists to compensate companies or people who have spent money developing something. And, I'm not seeing that any of these companies really, have pioneered any new techniques or, something really new under the sun is coming at us. Research papers I have, maybe this is the first time an RNA type vaccine has actually been introduced on a wide scale, but this is not new science. And so my feeling is that the drug companies are just taking advantage of misery, and that this is an official pandemic. We all know it's a pandemic, and special rules should apply. And if any company were actually losing money away something for free that they paid money developing, I would say that give them some money. But I don't think anything that's going on. So now clarify what the German position is for me, because I'm kind of a little confused on that.
Yeah, the German position is that
And you've got quiet. So why have you?
I've gone quiet. Can you hear me, Amos?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I should be on. Well, the German position is that the intellectual possession of the patents, etc., and those people cannot guarantee that the vaccination would be of the same quality as it is done in the factories here around, and these are the arguments. But behind all this is only the money, and it is absolutely obvious. Everything else is bullshit. Considering what's going on.
Of course, we have to remember that India is one of the biggest manufacturers of vaccine and pharma in the world, and they're producing and supplying to most of the world. We're not using a lot of their drugs, but they're definitely their drugs are being used all over Africa, all over Asia, and so forth. And they even have production of the AstraZeneca mRNA project there. So they have know-how, and they've done it, and they've shown that they can handle it.
Yeah,
so this
the idea that they can't do it as well is ridiculous.
Yeah. And Keith is completely correct on the fact that both we and in Germany, the government has subsidized those studies and has intellectual rights of them, and there is actually parts of the law that specifically and explicitly indicate that the government can take this and use it for international trade or other purposes if needed. And there's just no real point to the pharma saying otherwise.
And look, who are they coming from? Those guys who are working for the private pharma industries, right? Where are they coming from? They're coming from the public universities and research labs, and they're absolutely right. What Keith and you are saying, is it is funded by tax money.
And what do they accept? I mean, I could understand a concept of intellectual properties wanting to keep motivation in that research. But if you think about it, we're not talking about replacing the vaccination of the U.S. by foreign companies. We're talking about them being able to do it for their own populations, and it's absolutely ludicrous that that you have to make hands over fist profits in order to justify, in order to have motivation in development, in research and development.
If you think rationally about it, this step coming from the EU or Germany is equivalent to the idiocy of Ron DeSantis declaring Miami now. There we can go on like we did 2 years ago or 1.5 years before, and everything is okay right now, and nothing is okay. It is absolutely ridiculous, and it is profit goes over lives, and it is absolutely crazy, and it shows the absurdity in it. I think if you think about that, the corona threat is threatening us all, and not only the poor countries, the poor people in a special region. If we don't get it under control, even those guys are in danger. Everyone is in danger, even those guys, and I don't get it. It is absolutely crazy, and crazy times. It is wow. Well, yeah, this is
a lot of self-serving activity.
Yeah.
Not thinking about the bigger picture, because that's one thing that's really bothered me all along is, India, Brazil, the whole world is breeding variants of this virus.
Yeah.
And not to take the most aggressive form, to fight it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do everything in our arsenal. We should both try and pump as much vaccines over there as we can from here. We should make the supply lines better. We should, at the same time, try to figure out how we can tool them to come on board with this technology and produce for themselves. So other versions of this vaccine or future other pandemics could be handled much quicker, and there's no loss. It's a win-win.
My opinion is, if you're doing anything at all to restrict the flow of vaccine across the world, you're killing somebody.
Yeah,
you're murdering somebody.
It's that easy.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, hard topic. Let us talk about a clever species, a species which doesn't know who Obama is, doesn't know who Trump is, because they dug themselves in the ground 17 years ago, and now it's a big time for them to reappear. And I found this on the Tampa Bay Times, because it seems that there are a lot of states confronted with this natural wonder, if you want. So it is absolutely crazy that there is a species living for a very short time, and then spending 17 years in the ground and to raise again. Well, it's fantastic, and let's show the video, Amos.
Well, we had to wait 4 years underground to come up.
Yeah, they made the best decision to go underground, right?
Yep.
Cicadas have one of the craziest life cycles of any creature on the planet. They will soon be all around and above us, but they spend most of their lives, 17 years, buried underground, quietly surviving on plant sap, until one evening when they emerge as nymphs by the billions, even trillions.
They're going to make a jailbreak. They're going to come up out of the ground. They're going to climb to vertical structures. It could be a tree. It could be a house. If you stand still, it could be you.
The cicada's appearance begins to change as the insect begins its brief adult life.
They're going to shed their skins. Within an hour, they're going to then begin to harden up. And by morning, they're going to assume that wonderful color, jet black body, bright red eyes, orange wings. and head up to the relative safety of the treetop.
Once on the treetop, male cicadas try to woo the females to mate by performing a courtship song.
This is kind of my impression of what that call sounds like. Pharaoh, Pharaoh. If she likes his performance, if he's cool, she's gonna flick her wings, make a little clicking noise, they're gonna hook up. She's then gonna move out to the tips of small branches, make slits in those branches, deposit 20 to 30 eggs. She can lay up to 400 to 600 eggs during the span of her life.
In a matter of weeks, the cicadas die, and their bodies rain down onto the ground.
But the good news is they're gonna return and fertilize, bring back nutrients to the very plants from which they were spawned, basically completing the cycle of life and giving back to the very trees from which they took for 17 years.
6 weeks later, the eggs left behind hatch into tiny nymphs and fall to the ground.
They start to burrow in the ground, they find roots to feed on for another 17 years until it's time to come up again.
Wouldn't it be great if after we die, our body and what is left over from us would turn into something which would delete our carbon footprint? That you are giving back something,
You
you
can get
know?
that.
Okay, how?
No, there's places where you can buy that.
There is a
Okay, but
company that buries.
no. I'm talking about a physical process, you know, which is happening after you die.
There is a company
There's
that
a place where you can go and after you die, they'll put you in like sawdust with worms.
All right.
well, there's also a company that puts you in a pod and with the seed of a tree and. But the problem with that is that if you're looking at trees flourish in fungal dominated soils, not in bacterial dominated soil, which is what would happen if they put you on it. So it's not very successful in practice. It's just a nice idea.
Well, it came into my mind when I watched the Cicades clip before, and this would be great if we could reprint our carbon footprint, you know, that it would disappear completely. That would be great. And
but as much as those are lovely ideas with the bugs,
The insects would probably much prefer that we eliminate our neonicotinoid footprint because we may not have bugs in a few years.
right,
There's something called the insect apocalypse going on.
yes,
And you know, you've got neonicotinoids are the ones that are making that's the chemical that's causing the bees to get confused and not go back to the hive and just go off and die somewhere.
yeah.
So good we have cicadas coming out of the ground again, but for how much longer?
Yeah.
they are kind
Hopefully, you
of
know-
ugly creatures, though. I don't know if you got.
There are some very rare of them. I read that there are a few blue-eyed cicadas also, and and if you get it, this could bring you a couple of $100 if you can catch one of them.
Wow.
Never
Really?
heard it before.
There are different kinds. I know that. Not all of them go 17 years. Some of them, there are varieties, I think, that only do 5 or 3. You know, it's a kind of a common way of nature to protect itself. But because by going for 17 years underground and coming out all at once, they overwhelm the predators. Whatever
be the wrong year.
eats the cicadas can only eat so many, leaving enough to breed. So, you know, that's why they're doing it.
There's
So
something.
over eons of time, this evolved.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
There's Barbara Bartos is in chat, and she says the cicadas have fabulous colors, and you can run over them with a car, and they are unfazed to live for 6 weeks. Amazing. All right. Cool creatures. Yeah, let's go back to the political creatures again. And yeah.
Not so cool creatures.
Yeah, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yeah, boo. I'm getting to hate these GOP conventions. Yeah. I'm curious how they would look in the future, the GOP conventions.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
This market goes up. That's their future.
This is after Rudy Giuliani's search. And the FBI guys, they have been there since they raided Giuliani's apartment.
It would require a very, very severe decontamination.
Yeah. Ah, Cicadas. I've been underground since 2004. What the hell happened to Rudy Giuliano? Yeah. Yeah, imagine, right?
Yep.
There he was the celebrated hero, right? And today, oh my God. Yeah. Amos, your turn.
See, Hunter Biden is covered in Ukraine dirt. That's Giuliani.
Yeah. And there's a discussion. Poor countries are always last. Food, water, shelter, safety, security, technology. Why should vaccines be any different? Wait, enough, something's not right here. Shield, go ahead.
Yep. Problem there.
Yeah. Amos, Keith, do you want to take over the next one? No? Okay.
That's Giuliani's hair dye. It's, it dripped down all over his whole body there.
Oh, damn, you're right. I thought he changed the product, but anyway. Bill and Melinda Gates are splitting up to distract us from the 5G tracking devices they implanted in the vaccines. Yeah, there's so much divorce from reality. That's right, yeah. I've heard today that Matt Gaetz and MT Green had a rally, a little rally in Florida, and it must have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Who would go?
It was completely packed, as I read. Yeah, and there's a story about the corona, the anti-vaxxers. It looks like we could get close to herd immunity, say the white sheep.
Anti-vaxxer wolf is ready to
in
pounce.
sheep's clothes. Yeah. Yeah. Aesop's fable updated, when he cries wolf, and the Republicans, now we all have to cry wolf. It's absolutely crazy.
That brings us to the topic of Liz Cheney.
The national disgraces. Is this guy still in prison?
Close to herd immunity.
The Flintstone guy with the strange hat, is he still in prison?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know what happened to him. No idea. Do you, Keith?
No, I'm kind of out of sync here. For some reason, I lost the video on the Zoom meeting. Oh, here we go. National disgraces.
Disgraces.
Oh, yeah.
Another one with Cheney. They're
yes.
Walking the plank. She's walking the plank, so they're taking off the ship. But then they discover that they're all underwater.
Yeah.
They've sunk a long time ago. And they're trying to expel her. Here's another one.
Well, let them keep fighting. Yeah.
We're getting rid of Liz Cheney because she isn't carrying out our message. And Matt Gaetz says, we're still cool, aren't we?
The next one. Yes, this one is a witch hunt. You mean, oh God, this is in so many ways, is this right?
Yeah.
Right? It is a witch hunt, and it is a witch hunt, and yeah,
Absurd though that that they're Republican. Yay, I win.
yeah, I win. Yeah,
Must
yeah,
be a Republican.
yeah. And the vaccine hesitancy. Yeah. Is he
Hesitancy
an
for
African or
truth.
Indian elephant? I'm asking this because his ears are kind of cut.
It's an American elephant.
Yeah, Africans have the big ones.
Okay.
Want to do that one?
The scarlet tea.
How about a free donut? How about a free beer? How about a free puppy? How about a free churro? How about a free baby Yoda plush? How about getting back to normal so you can stop whining about not getting back to normal?
That should be enough, shouldn't it?
Yeah, this should be enough. Your turn.
What happened to the expected pandemic baby boom? Social distancing, duh. And that goes back to this research. The CDC has actually published some stats this week, and it's interesting that both there hasn't been a boom in terms of they expected there to be a boom, and they expected there to be an increase in suicides, and the fact is that the suicides went down. So it both surprising results, but that's why it's important to do evidence-based research and not just based on some ideas.
Interesting. Okay, let us focus on one group. People who are committing suicide because they are lonely.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt that the mental health has declined during the pandemic. But
yes,
in terms
this
of
is what
numbers, overall numbers.
Yeah. Because but maybe the feeling was shared. That so many people are alone. I do not feel such alone anymore. I don't know. It just came into my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Facebook login attempt. You failed. Yeah, this discussion.
Yeah. Whoever is not getting that reference, Facebook has they were able to continue his ban instead of attempts to get him unbanned from Facebook. I think he should stay banned.
It is worrying. Yeah. I love this one.
We love
Jim
elephants.
Crow feed. No, I love birds. And crows. I like crows. Crows are very smart.
Yeah.
Smarter than the average Republican, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Crows are
He's feeding them Jim Crow feed.
Yes. Damn.
The last one is not a funny, but just a reminder for everybody. Support Tina Turner. And there's a quote here, we all thank Senator Sanders for striking the match and lighting the flames, but it's our job to keep it burning. Very true. So if you haven't yet done any contributions, go now and do, because she needs to get in to make a difference.
Yeah. Well, guys, we are at the end. It was a very, very long show today, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was great to have Keith with us, and I hope you will be next week with us also, Keith.
Well, that means I'll have to do some more work, but okay.
Okay, cool. So you're in. Great. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and
well, yeah, and I'll have a green screen. I ordered a green screen. So,
yes, for next week. Yeah,
I can play with that.
So no technical delay because of you anymore.
If it gets here when
I'm kidding.
Well, I apologize for the delays. We had to restructure everything regarding the screen compositions. Everything. It's a little different once we get a different number of participants. but that's just on the technical side. Everybody who's watching on Facebook, and we've gotten some additional viewers on Facebook over the last couple of weeks. Our main base is right now YouTube, which is why you probably don't see the chat that we're responding to. That's all on YouTube under Uphill Media in the Progressive Update, and you could go on there and subscribe. And don't forget to ring the bell so you could get notifications of upcoming shows. And most importantly, if you like the material we're presenting, just share on social media.
Would be great, yes. Well, guys, that's all I have for today. Any final words for the week?
Well,
yeah, I'd like to thank the people in the chat. You know, they're thanking me, so I'm thanking them, and you know, they like the show, and so yeah, thank you.
Great. Amos?
Yeah, everybody get vaccinated if you haven't yet. I'm getting my second one next week. Sorry, sorry, Marcus. Sorry about
I don't even have a date for the first one. It's so ridiculous.
Yep.
Anyway, well, we are going out, and this means that Amos had a little bit to do with after work, you know, because maybe he has to cut it out. Though it's a live version from KEXP, and it is one of the latest songs from the Sleaford Mods. You know, I love those guys. They are representing that rock and roll is still alive. You know, rock and roll in their case is a little bit different what their musical style concerns. It's their new song, I Don't Rate You. I hope you rate us, and I hope that we'll see us again next week with news from No Joke. And please stay safe, get vaccinated, as Amos said, and hope to see you next week, and enjoy it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Yeah, me and Danny Olive. What's that trouble? Let's go now. What's that idea? Lift up black. List up no one. Let's go, yo. Don't talk shit. Stinks poo poo. I don't break you. She's up right now, that's what he said. Blokes that kiss us in the end. Blokes commercial boring twat. I don't really like things like that. I don't break you. Watch the cards, I've seen them drop. You're the everyman that's not. You're the big so lovely table. Fuck off, wanker, famous teams. I don't break you. I don't break you. I don't break you. I don't break you. What does it all mean? What does it all mean? What does it all mean? Stars near me, I'm not fucking galaxy. I don't break you. Appropriate, make the run. I'll just look like anyone. I'll just do stuff done. It's invested like that, right run out Paul. I don't break you. I don't need no castle run. I don't want a motorsport. I don't need no horses running. I don't need no princess abseiling down the fucker. I don't like you. I don't like them. I don't like you.